Hello friends, welcome to Salesforce Admin Series. Today's topic is security and sharing model. So let's see what we are going to cover in this video. So we will see how we can control who sees what. So which user should see what in Salesforce, that we can control. Then we have different levels of security that can be use. So the first one is organization level security. Then you have something called object level security. Then at the field level and at then record level. So these are the four levels of security that can be defined in Salesforce to control who sees what. And then under the record level security, how you can configure record level security, there are four ways of having record level security in Salesforce. The first one is organization wide settings. The second is role hierarchy. The third is sharing rules, and the fourth one is manual sharing. And then at the end, we will see different types of object permissions. So let's start with control who sees what. So Salesforce provides flexible layered data sharing design. So Salesforce gives very flexible design of the data, and then you can have different layers where you can share the data between different users or group of users. You can expose different data sets to different groups of users that are relevant to them. So if you have like sales data, so you can configure your security settings like that, that the only sales reps or the sales team or the sales manager can see the sales data. And if you want to segregate the service data to call center employees and call center managers, so those kind of division of data can be performed in Salesforce, and you can give access of different data sets to different groups. So it is all as per the organization process. You can segregate the data among the users and group of users. Then there are something called permission sets and profiles, which are used to specify access to objects and fields. So when it comes to like objects and fields level, then you will be using permission sets and profiles. And organization-wide sharing settings, user rules, and sharing rules are used to specify access at record level, like view and edit. So when you're talking about at the record level, you're talking about a single record in Salesforce, then you can use these different methods like org wide defaults, or we also call it OWD, or you can define different roles and define the role hierarchy, or maybe you can set different kind of sharing rules, and if you want to share it with a particular set of users. Identify different users and access that need to be specified at object, field, and record levels. So when you start working in your org, so it is a good practice that first you identify who all will be your different users and what access level they should have at the different levels, like at the object level, at the field level, at the record level. So you should identify all this initially, so that you can design your security model, or you can design your sharing model accordingly. So basically identifying different roles and different users and their level of access. So that would help you to design a better security and sharing model. So the first one where you can define your security is at the organization level. So how you can do that? So the organization level security, it provides the broadest way to control the data. So this is something which is like at the very top level, or I would say very broadest level, because you are covering the whole org in together in this particular level of security. So how you can do that? You can managing authorized users, you can create different types of users, and you can set different password policies, and you can limit when and where users can log in, So these are the different ways through which you can define the organization level security. What else you can do? You can define the trusted IP ranges. Okay, this is the IP range, and if the user is logging in between this IP range which you have defined at the org level or the profile level, then only he'll be get access to the org. So if you are suppose you have defined the trusted IP ranges at the org level and the user is trying to enter uh, outside of this IP range, then he will receive an activation code, and he should have uh, actually entered the activation code, and then only he will be able to enter into the org. And if the trusted IP ranges are defined at the profile level, then if the user is outside the IP range, he will be denied access. He will not get any kind of activation code, but he will be denied access instantly. Then the last thing you can define is the login hours. So suppose you want to have, like for the sales team, you want to define login hours as weekdays from 9 to 5. But for the support or the call center people, you want it to be have like the whole week and like 24 cross 7. So you can define those kind of different login hours, and it can be defined at the profile level. So I'll just quickly show you where are all these settings in Salesforce and how you can define it. So let's log in into Salesforce. So here is the Salesforce login. We are in the setup. So the first thing, if you want to define a user, so just put user in your quick find box. So under users, you will get the users. Click on users. So here is an option to define a user. So here you can see there is something called new user. So if you click on new user, here are all the options which you can define. You can give the first name, last name. You have to provide an email. You have to select a username and a nickname, which are all mandatory fields. Then you can define a role. You can select the user license, which you it will be like available according to what edition you are using. So as we are using developer edition, so we have these different kind of user license, so you can choose it from here, and accordingly then you will get the profile. So suppose if I'll change it to like Salesforce platform, so here you can have standard platform user. So a user must have a profile and a role, and it will come under a user license. And then here are the different check boxes, what all additional access you want to give this user, like different kind of like marketing user, knowledge user, so that he or she can perform different things in different modules of Salesforce. So you can select all this here. Then you can provide your the locale setting here, like the time zone, the language, or the locale. So here you can give all those things. And if you want to define any manager for this particular user, you can define it from here. So these are the different things which you can give in a user while creating a user. So you have to give all this information. You have to click on save, and your new user will be created. So like we have created these two users. So this is our admin user, and this is the user which we have created and given him the role as CEO, and the profile has been assigned to him as system admin. So in the developer org, we can have only two system admin profiles. So we have used it for these two different users. So that's how you create a user in Salesforce. You cannot delete a user. What you can instead do is you can simply deactivate or freeze the user. So how you can deactivate? You have to just simply uncheck this active checkbox, and then this user will be deactivated. Or if you want to freeze a user, so if you click on user, there is an option of uh, there's an option of freezing a user. So yes. So yes, so from here, if you click on it is not letting me, because it's the system admin profile and I'm logged in with this particular user only. So that's why I am not able to I'm not able to deactivate at this particular time. But then what you can do, you can simply remove this checkbox and the user will become deactivate, or you can freeze that particular user at that moment. Like if you come to know, okay, this particular user is going out of the organization, or because of any other reason you want to limit his access, so you can simply freeze him or deactivate him. You cannot directly deactivate him if he's coming under any hierarchy or any role hierarchy, or maybe attached to any other particular thing. Then you cannot directly deactivate. First you have to remove that user from those options, and then only you can deactivate him. So for the time being, you can simply freeze him. So that's how you create a user, and that's how you can deactivate or freeze a user in Salesforce. Then the second thing which we have seen the in the organization level security is the login IP ranges and hours. So if you click here on the network access, so if I click on network access, so here you can define the trusted IP range, and it will be at the organization level. So here you can click on the new, and here you can give the start IP address and end IP address. And if you want to put any description, you can put it here and just simply save it. So if the user logs in outside of this particular range, he'll be sent a particular activation code that he has to enter, and then only he'll be able to log in into Salesforce. So this is the one way that you can define the trusted IP range. The other way is if you go on a profile. So where would you get the profile? Under users, you get the profile. Suppose I'll click on this profile, and in any of the profile, go ahead and click on edit. So here you can see that this is something, the password policies which you can define, and you can give like user password expires in how many days. You can enforce password history. You can give the password minimum password length, and what kind of complexity you want, what should be the lockout effective period. So these are the different password policies which can be defined in under a particular profile. So that's how you can use the password policies for a particular profile. Okay, so here you can see that I'm in the profile. So let's find out. Okay, so here from here also you can see the login IP ranges. And so if you click on login IP ranges here, so here you will come. So you can define the login IP ranges at the profile level. So enter the range of valid IP addresses from which users with this profile can log in. So if the user has this particular profile, they can log in within this particular range. So you can define this login IP range at the profile level. And if you want to define the login hours also, so here is the login hours. So you can click on edit, and you can define for the different days, you can define the start time and end time, and then you can have it like suppose for the Sunday you don't want, so you can restrict that particular day of the week, and or maybe the time, particular time you can restrict it from here. And for if you want it like from for all the days, so simply you need not to define any particular login hours. And then here also you can see the time zone which you have selected, so that is also coming here. So based on that, you can set your login hours here at the profile level. So select the days and hours that users with this profile are allowed to log in. Note that all times are exact times specific to a time zone. Login hours will be applied to those exact times even for users in different time zones. So if you're defining here at the profile level according to this particular time zone, so the users in the other time zone, if they have the same profile, they will also be, it will be applicable to them as well. So make sure that you define the login hours accordingly. So Okay, so that's how you can define these different uh, options of setting the org level security. So you can define a user, you can define different login IP ranges and login hours, and also you can define the different password policies. So let's see what next we can do. So then we come to the object level security. Now you have covered the org level. Now you are coming into the second level, that is the object level. So object level security or object permissions provide the bluntest way to control the data. So now when you are at the object level, you can control your data access at the object level. So using object permissions, a user can be prevented from seeing, creating, editing, or deleting any instance of a particular object. So how you can define? You can define it using profiles and permission sets. So object permissions are defined in profiles and permission set, and what all kind of access or what all kind of prevention you can do is for the creation, editing, or deleting any particular instance of a particular object. And it also lets hide the whole tabs and objects from a particular user. So if you want user to not at all aware, okay, there's something called this particular object exists. So what you can do, you can simply hide the whole tab and the object from that particular user. So he will never come to know, okay, there's something called this object also exists in the organization. So it all depends what kind or what level of security you want to define or you want to have in your organization for different users. So how you can do, as I said, that you can do it with the help of profiles and permission sets. So let's see, we'll go back to the profiles here, and here you can see object level permissions. So how we can do that. So here, if we have come, uh, let's see. So here you can see the standard object permissions. So these are all the standard object, and these are the different permissions which can be defined at the object level. So that is read, create, edit, delete, view all, and modify all. So these are the different levels of access which a user can have on standard object, and then you can edit it, and similarly you can have the custom object permission. So whatever custom objects we have defined, like programs, sponsors, workshops, so all this option also can be seen here for the custom object. And if you want to edit it, so you have to simply go on edit here, and then you can come again here and uncheck or check accordingly what type of access you want to give for a particular object. If you want to remove that particular object from the view, so you can simply remove all kind of accesses, and that particular user will not be able to see that this object exists in your org. So that's how the object level permission can be set in Salesforce. Now let's see what is the next level. So the next level is the field level security. So sometimes users should have permission to an object, but should have limited access to individual fields in that object. So sometimes it happens like you are capturing very confidential data at the object level. Suppose you are capturing someone's Aadhaar card number or a PAN card number or driving license number, but you want to keep it secure. You don't want it to be accessed by any employee in your organization. It should be accessed by only the authorized user. Then you can simply hide that particular field, or you can simply remove the access of that particular field from the from that particular user. So field level security or field permissions control whether a user can see, edit, and delete the value for a particular field on an object. So using field level security, we can define this kind of access, like the view access, edit access, or the delete access on a particular field. It also lets protect sensitive fields without having to hide the whole object. So you need not to hide the whole object, but you can simply protect those sensitive fields which are important and which should not be shown to everyone in the org. Then field permissions are close controlled in permission sets and profiles. So using profile and permission sets, you can define the access or define the permissions which you want to have on a particular field from a particular user point of view. It also controls the visibility of fields in any part of the app, including related list, list views, reports, and search results. So it's not like only on the detail and the edit page you will not able to see that particular field, or you will have limited access to that particular field, but it will be applicable like in if that field is available in any part of the app, including related list, even in the list views, even in the reports and the search results, you will not able to see that particular field. So that is the difference between the field level security and the page layout, where in the page layout you can make a field a read only, or you can make it hide, but then that field will be hidden only at that particular page of like the detail page or the edit page of that particular object. You can simply hide it from there if you are doing it in the page layout level. But if you are defining a field level security, at the field level you are defining these limited access, it will be hidden from different parts in the app, like the related list and in the reports or the search results. So this is the main difference. So how you can define the field level security? Let's log in back. Let's go back into the Salesforce, and similar to the object permissions, you have field level permission as well. So you have something called see here. So you have something called field level security. So now if you go into the account, click on view. So here you will see all the different fields of the account, and you can see here the different read and edit access. So if it is like suppose the created by field, so you can see here it doesn't have any edit access. It has only the read access, because the created by or the last modified by field, these are the fields which you cannot change, or which you cannot edit, but you can simply view it. So these are the different I will say different this is the main option from where you can define the field level security for the different objects. So you will go into the profile, click on back to profile, and here you can see all the different objects, and whenever you click on any of the objects, you can see the field level different fields of that particular object. Suppose if we choose even you will see the custom objects here, so custom field level security. So if suppose I'll click on workshop, you can see all the fields are coming here, and they have all the read access and only edit access to only these fields. So the created by, last modified, and number of participants. As you must have remembered, the number of participants is a roll-up summary field. So you cannot edit it because it gets calculated while saving the record. So when it gets saved, when the number of participants gets added, and you calculate it basically, and then it gets visible on the record page. So this is something which you cannot edit, but then you have read access to all these fields. So suppose if you have like any Aadhaar card number or PAN card number, that kind of field in your contact object, which you don't want to show it to all the users, so simply you can go to the profile and you can select the object and simply remove the, using edit, you can simply remove the read access and of course the edit access, and that particular field will be hidden from the users which are having that particular, which are attached to that particular profile, so they will not be able to see it. So that's how you can control the field level security using profiles and permission sets. So yeah, so this is about the field level security. The next thing is the record level security. Now you have defined securities at different levels. Now you have defined it at the org level, then at the object level, then at the field level. But now you want to have the security at each single records. So even at the record level, you can you can define the level of access. So it is used to configure access settings for the actual records. So now we are talking about the actual records in the system, and now you want to configure access settings for these actual records. So for that you will use the record level security. It lets give access to some of the object records but not others. So it will let so it's not like you can define like for all the objects, but you can define for some of the object records. Every record is owned by a user or queue, and record owner has full access to the record. So as you know, for each record you have a record owner, or maybe you have a queue which has been assigned that particular case record or a lead record. So that owner or that particular queue will have full access to that record, who is the owner. So for that particular record they will have the full access. But then there are some other users as well. Like if you have defined a role hierarchy in your organization, so in a hierarchy, users higher in the hierarchy always have the same access to users below them in the hierarchy. So this is something which can be used for defining the access. So suppose the CEO is the most top employee in your role hierarchy, and under that are different levels of roles. So CEO will be able to see all the records because all others are coming under him in the role hierarchy. So he will get the same access as the users below him in the hierarchy. To specify record level security, set organization wide sharing settings, define a hierarchy, and create sharing rules. So to specify this record level security, so when you use this record level security, so the owners will have the full access to their own records. But then when it comes when the record level security comes in picture, when you are talking about someone else's record which you don't have full access by default, so you want to have what kind of access to others records, that will be defined using record level security. So you have something called organization wide sharing settings, where you can define the org wide, like in the whole organization, what would be the like basic level of access for that particular object or for that particular record, how it will be the basic level. So that would be your defining at the organization wide level. Then you can have something called hierarchy, as I have told you, that you can build a hierarchy in your Salesforce soft, and according to that hierarchy the users will get access to the records. And then there's something called sharing rules, where you will simply create a sharing rule based on a criteria or based on a owner, and then give access to the users or maybe a set of users. So this is something very important to understand, that how this security works, how it gives access. So here you can see the OWD, org wide default, gives base level access. So it is because it is at the organization level. Then something which will open your access will be the role hierarchy, but how it will open it up? Using the vertical, because you are going from like lower employee in the hierarchy to the upper level of employee in the hierarchy. So that's how you open up access if you have defined the role hierarchy. And then using sharing rule, you can have the lateral access as well. Like you can open up the access at the lateral level, because you can select few users. They might be at the same level in the hierarchy, they might be below, or they might be above the hierarchy. So depending on that, you can choose, you can build your sharing rules. You can define different criterias, or you can choose different set of users, and then you can provide them access. And the last one is something called manual sharing, which is very flexible, because like every record owner will have this option to manually share. Like they will get a sharing button on a record, and they can simply click on share and share that particular record, like a single record, to any set of users or group of users or any other user. So this is very flexible, because the owner has the right to choose whom he wants to share this particular record with. So this is your and the baseline object permission, as I said you, the object permissions are given using profiles and permission sets. Let's see what are these different options like OWD, role hierarchy, and sharing rules and manual sharing. And then we will see in the org how we can define these different things in the Salesforce org. So let's find it out. So first we will begin with organization-wide settings. So it specifies the default level of access users have to each other's records. So as I told you that these all accesses or these all options are used to give accesses to the users for others records, because they are the owner of their own records and they have full access on that. But then when we are talking about anyone else's records, then this particular thing comes in the picture. So the organization wide settings specifies the default level of access. What would be the default level of access? Then it is used to lock down the data to the most restricted level. Because it is a default level, it should be like the most restrictive one. And then after that, you can use other options to open up the access accordingly, and use other record level security and sharing tools to selectively give access to other users. So this one is the most base level or the most restrictive level. And then after that, as and when or whenever, whatever the requirement is, based on that, whatever user needs the access, accordingly you can open up the access using different record level security and sharing tools. OWD can be set to private, public read only, or public read write. So these are the three options. Like private, public read only will have, like everyone will have the option to read the or to view that particular record, and public read write means everyone will have option to view and edit that particular record. So these are the three different levels which can be set at OWD. Setting an object to private makes those records visible only to record owners and those above in the hierarchy. So you have only, if you keep it as private, then the records will be only visible to the owner of that particular record, and then who are above him in the role hierarchy. If you have defined the role hierarchy in your org, so according to that, whoever is above in the hierarchy to that particular user, to the record owner, they will only have this access. But if you want to remove that access from the hierarchy as well, then you can use the grant access using hierarchies checkbox. So there is a checkbox which you can check or uncheck and make this particular access disabled to users above in the hierarchy for custom objects. So this thing you can do for the custom objects. So let's see where we can do this. So if I'm in the Salesforce and under the setup, you have to type sharing setting. Click on sharing settings. So here you can see org wide defaults. So once you click on sharing setting, it is showing you this page displays your organization's sharing setting. This setting specify the level of access your user have to each other's data. Now, you can monitor the background jobs to monitor the progress of a change to an OWD or a parallel sharing recalculation. So if you have done any changes or any modification in OWD default, or maybe in any sharing setting rule or anything, so that can be, you can view the progress of that in the background job. So here you can see that here are the different objects of Salesforce, and here the default internal access. So for the users, for the internal users, what is the default access, and for the external, what is the default access. And this is the checkbox which we were talking about, is the grant access using hierarchy. So if you uncheck this checkbox, then the people above in the hierarchy will not be able to see the records of that record owner. If it is checked, then that means that the uh, uh, users above in the hierarchy of the record owner will also be able to view his or her records if it is set to be the private. If it is public read only, anyways anyone can view the record because it is a public read only. And if it is a public read write, that means anyone can view or edit the record. So here you can see that for the different objects you can set different level of access accordingly. And here you have the custom objects as well, which can be so whatever access level you want to give, you can give it here. So like the program, currently it is public read write, so it is the highest level of access. But what you can do, you can give it like private, and you can also enable or disable the grant grant access using hierarchy according to the business needs. And then afterwards you can use other settings like the sharing rules, or using manual sharing you can change the access maybe to a set of users, or a particular user, or maybe a group of users. So depending on that, you can open up the access using different other criteria. So what are the different other rules or different other methods through which you can do that? We will see in a bit. So let's go back here and click on the next one. So role hierarchy, as I mentioned, once org-wide sharing settings are specified, role hierarchy is the first way to give wider access to records. So now when you set, suppose you have set the org-wide default as private. Now it is up to you that you want to give the hierarchy, the people in the hierarchy, above in the hierarchy, do you want to give them access or not? If you want to give them access, you should have a role hierarchy defined. And if you have that checkbox checked, then the people above in the hierarchy will get the access by default. It represents a level of data access that a user or group of user needs. So it is not like the company's hierarchy, like the designations. No, it is about the data access we are talking. You can have similar names, similar kind of designations over there in the role hierarchy as well, but then it is basically more concerned about the data access, and it ensures that users higher in the hierarchy can always access the same data as users who are at lower level, regardless of OWD. So whatever the OWD, it doesn't matter if even it is private, and if they are above in the hierarchy, then they should have access to the suppose the OWD is public read only. That means for everyone it is public read only. They can only view the records. But then if the user is above in the role hierarchy, they will get to see, or they will get to view and edit the records of the user who are below them. So that is the main so if I'll put in simple words, suppose you have a sales team, and there are different members in the sales team. They have their own records, but then there is someone, sales manager, above them. So sales manager should have access to records of all the sales team members. So sales manager should be above in the role hierarchy. So how we can set the role hierarchy, I will quickly show you. So here you have seen that this is the checkbox, but if you want to keep the role hierarchy configured in Salesforce, you have to type role, click on roles. Here you can see there is this set up your role hierarchy to control how your organization reports on and accesses data. So this is how you can, this is the place where you can define the role hierarchy. So here it has given the example like CEO, and they are the executive staff: CEO, president, CFO, VP, sales. And then under that they have different sales directors, and under they have different sales representatives. So if you click on setup roles, here you can see that your org name will come in front, then the main person or the highest level of person will be seen here. And if you click on this plus one, click to expand. So if I'll click, so it will get expanded. So here you can see there are different roles under CEO, If you want to add another role, you can click on here and add another role, and that will you can choose whom it will report to. You can give the role name, and that's how your role hierarchy can be set. You can edit it, you can delete a particular level of role if it is not applicable to your organization. You can assign different persons to this particular role from here, to assigning roles to different users from here. So these are various things which you can perform using the role hierarchy option in Salesforce. So that's how you build your role hierarchy here. Suppose if I click on SVP, Sales and Marketing, so under that it is VP, VP, VP of different regions. Then under that it is Director. Then under that it is channel sales team. So you can see like there are different levels you can define, and that's how you can build your role hierarchy. And based on that role hierarchy, you can set the access of records. So this is how you configure the role hierarchy in Salesforce. So let's go back, see what is the next thing. So the next one is the sharing rules. So make automatic exceptions to OWD sharing settings for particular set of users. So now if that user is not in the role hierarchy, but they are the users which should have access to some of the records, or maybe some of the owner's records. Suppose it might happen that maybe 2 or 3 persons are in one team, but then because of some reason or the other reason, all those records you want to transfer to any other particular group of users, or maybe any other particular team you want to do it, but they are not in the hierarchy. They are like in different person here. Suppose they are in this, one was in the sales team, but the another one is in the service team, that another group is belongs to service team. So based on that, what you can do, you can define the sharing rules for those particular users. So it used to give access to records that user don't own or can't normally see. So normally they cannot see because they are not in the hierarchy, and they don't own it as well. So in that case, you will define the sharing rules, and it is used to give additional user access to records, and it can't be stricter than OWD setting, because OWD is already the base level. This is used to open up the access. So if it is like already private at OWD, you cannot define like, if it is like public read only in OWD, you cannot have it like private using sharing rules, because it cannot be restricted than OWD. OWD is the most restricted, and after that, all these will be used to open up the access. So how you can define the sharing rules? So we have to type here again, sharing settings. Click on sharing settings. So here, after this OWD, you can see all the different object sharing rules. So you can define different sharing rules based on the object. So suppose you have opportunity sharing rule. If I click on new, here you can see you can define the rule name, you can give the description, and now you can select your rule type. So it should be based on the record owner. So like if the user is MS, then all the records belong to MS should be assigned to this particular set of users. It should be based on record owner, or it should be based on any particular criteria. Like if the opportunity amount is greater than 10,000, then it should also be visible to this type of users. If it is more than 50,000, then it should be visible to this type of user. So if you want to give those kind of criteria to be in your sharing rules, so then you can define it here and select the users to share with, and with whom you want to share. Is it a public group? Is it something related to one particular role, or roles and their subordinates? So these are 3 different categories. Based on that, if you have like 3 or 4 users from different roles, but you want to share with them, you can create a public group, assign all those users in that public group, and then you can select it here using the suppose we have created the test public group that day. So we can just select here the test public group. So based on that, you can select the users to share with and what kind of access you want to give here. Do you want to give read only, or do you want to give the read and write? So here you can see these are the two options which can be used, or which is the level of access that users can have on the particular record which we were talking about. Okay, so that's how you can create a sharing rule in Salesforce. And here you can see there are all the different objects, and for each object you can define the sharing rules according to the business processes. So here you can see there'll be our custom object as well, like the program, workshop, sponsor. So all those custom objects are also present here, and you can create the sharing rules accordingly. So that's how you create sharing rules. And now the last thing is the manual sharing. So sometimes it is impossible to define a consistent group of users who need access to a particular set of records. So sometimes it happens like you have some users which are scattered, and they are not like they cannot be come in a single group, or they cannot be combined in a particular hierarchy or something. So in that case, what you can do, you can provide the manual sharing to them. So in that, the record owner has flexibility, or has that this right that they can use manual sharing to give read and edit permission to users who don't have access any other way. Suppose one of the team member is going on leave for some time, so then he wants to give his records to any other particular user. So he can manually share, okay, can you please look into this record while I'm on leave? So those kind of scenarios, in those kind of scenarios, you can use the manual sharing option. Manual sharing is not automated like OWD, role hierarchy, or sharing rules, right? You cannot automate it. It is something, as the name suggests, which is manual thing. The user has to go on the record, he has to share that particular record with any other user whom he wants, and give him the read or write access accordingly. So these are the basic, these are the main four options using which you can share the records which are not, which doesn't belong to a particular user. Like it is to see or to edit each other's records where you are not the owner but you want to have access. So in that case, you use these different options: OWD, role hierarchy, sharing rules, and manual sharing. Now here you can see these are the different types of object permissions you can have. So like when you are giving object permission using profile or permission sets, then these are the different kind of permissions which you can give. A read permission, so users can only view records of that particular type for which you are giving the read access. If it is create, user can read and create records. Edit, user can read and update records. Delete, user can read, edit, and delete records. And if he has view all, user can view all records associated with this object regardless of sharing setting. So whatever be the sharing setting, it doesn't matter. If the user have view all permission for a particular object, then he will be able to view all the records associated with the object. And modify all, user can read, edit, delete, transfer, and approve all records associated with this object regardless of sharing setting. So whatever be the sharing setting, it doesn't matter. If that particular user has modified all permission for that particular object, then he can view, edit, delete, manage anything he can do with the records of that particular type of object. So this is these are the main different permissions at the object level which you can give using profiler and permission sets. So in the next video, we will learn about what is a profile, what is a permission set, what is the role, and these are the main basic concepts of security and sharing in Salesforce. So we will see it in our next video. So in this video, this is all from my side. Thank you all for joining me in this video. Thank you.